A lot on the docket. Welcome into Birds Huddle, powered by PointsBet, along with Reuben Frank. I'm Danny Pommells. Glad you could join us. Now, Rube, it is crazy how much the length of training camp has changed over the years. Give us an idea how different camp is now than when you covered it during the Andy Reid era.
Well, even when I started with Buddy, I mean, you're talking about 6 weeks of two-a-days, real two-a-days with full live, full pads in the afternoon, and it would go on. I mean, right now they'd be in their third week of practice.
Right.
You know, they were down in Westchester for a month and a half, and there wasn't a break. I mean, there were no days off. And this isn't just Nick having an easier camp. I mean, this is the CBA, the league, and the Players Association agreeing that it was too much.
Right.
And it wasn't healthy. It wasn't good for the players. So we've gone from one extreme to the other. I was reading about Dick Vermeil's first camp in '76. It was 2 months long of two-a-days that were 3 hours each. And if this was Dick Vermeil's first camp, there'd only be 4 days left if you add up the amount of practice hours that Nick has this year.
Wow, and Vince Papale had a lot of work to do back in those days to make the team, right? All right, that brings us to our three-point stance presented by your Mercedes. Let's get to your first stance today, Rube. The improvement of the passing game isn't all on Jalen Hurts. Rube, for the offense to take another step forward, what else has to happen besides Hurts getting better as a passer?
Yeah, I think we all agree the Eagles have to throw the ball. They've got to develop an elite passing game to go with the elite running game. You're not going to win a Super Bowl running the ball. Look, it was great last year. It's what they had, you know, based on their personnel, it's what they needed to do, but you're not going to go very far. And we saw it in the playoffs against Tampa. I mean, you have a really good defense that knew how to shut down the run, and there was nothing left. They didn't have a way to move the ball. So you got to develop an elite passing game. Obviously, a big part of that is Jalen Hurts. He's got to be better. He's got to be more accurate. He's got to throw with anticipation. He's got to be more consistent, I think, is the biggest thing. But a lot of other things go into that, Danny, and a lot of it starts with the coach, Nick Sirianni, and Shane Steichen, who's going to be calling the plays. They've got to create plays that work for these receivers, and they've got to, not fall back on the running game when things start to go wrong in the passing game. They've got to have better plays, more aggressive play calling. And number two is I think the O-line's got to be a little bit better with its pass blocking. They were 14th in the league last year as far as sacks allowed per pass play.
Right.
Some of that was Jalen just holding on to the ball too long, but some of it was this is a great run blocking offensive line, got to be a little bit better pass blocking. And then, you have some new guys coming in. You have a couple of new veteran receivers coming in who've got to acclimate to this offense, to these teammates, work with the tight ends and the backs and the coaching staff. And you got to kind of make it all work together. So, look, Jalen's obviously a huge part of the passing game. He's a quarterback. He's the guy throwing the ball. But a lot of other things have to work for this thing to work as a passing game.
You mentioned those new wide receivers. Nothing like having dynamic people at the skill positions, and A.J. Brown really fits that bill. How different do you expect the offense to look with a playmaker like him on the outside?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that you're adding him, but you're subtracting Jalen Reagor.
Right.
Jalen Reagor played 750 snaps on offense last year.
Wow.
So now you take those 750 snaps and you give them to a Pro Bowl wide receiver, and you're going to look a lot different. The Eagles were 6th from the bottom as far as big plays in the passing game last year. A.J. Brown has the most 40-yard catches in the NFL since he got here, since he got to the NFL 3 years ago. So that's the big thing. He can catch the deep ball, he can catch the short ball and turn it into a deep ball with his power and his strength and running after the catch. So I think that's the biggest thing. You're going to see a dimension of deep balls, long plays that we didn't see last year.
And the relationship between him and Hurts is immeasurable for sure. Let's get to your second stance, Rube, on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. You can check out Rube's recent article highlighting 10 things you need to see during training camp. One of those was about safety Marcus Epps. Your second stance, Marcus Epps has a lot to prove as he tries to step in the starting job vacated by Rodney McLeod. What do you expect to see from Epps?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's one of the more interesting guys on the roster because, most of the roster are guys that we've seen play at a high level now. I mean, with the additions, there's a lot of returning guys who played well last year. But Epsy, he played about Epsy, that's what we call him. Me and Dave, we call him Epsy.
That's clear.
He played about 31% of the snaps last year. He played well. He was actually, Pro Football Focus ranks him as the number 19 safety in the league. but it's a big jump going from 31 snaps a game or 31% to, he's getting out of playing 90% of the snaps if all goes well. I think he's physical. I think he's smart. I think he's instinctive. He's around the ball. You see him making plays that the other safeties, certainly Anthony Harris doesn't make. Rodney made him at the end of the year when he was healthy. But if Epps can play at that level and kind of double his playing time and become an effective starter, that's going to be huge because right now safety is a question mark. And, there's a lot of questions there. He's going to be an interesting guy to watch.
Well, you say safety is a question mark. Really quick, Barrett loves the idea of the big nickel they can play with Tart, Harris, and Epps. Are you a proponent of that as well?
It depends. I don't know what to expect from Jaquiski Tart. He's a guy who, the Niners didn't want back.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. He's been around a long time. He hasn't made a ton of plays.
On a one-year prove-it deal, though.
Yeah. Like a lot of these guys, like Kazir White, like Bradbury. So I have to see him before I'm ready to kind of give him a big role. He's got to make the team before he can be part of a big nickel.
Okay. Make sure you have your eyes out for what Rube sees in training camp on our website for sure. Now, let's get to your third and final stance. Does Brandon Graham still have his burst? Interesting to get your thoughts on this. He went down with an Achilles injury. We all know that in week 2 last season, and now he's 34 years old, coming off surgery. It's been over a decade since Graham dealt with a major injury. He had knee surgery during his rookie season, if you guys remember. Now, here's what Graham had to say last month about where he stands health-wise.
I've been here before, and it's not even as worse as my knee was. I feel like nothing ever happened for real. So it's just all about me just coming in shape, ready to go for training camp, and just helping the guys, man. Because we really do got some young guys, man, that I'm excited about.
Now, we've seen BG putting in the work this offseason with the training videos and the cardio stuff that he hates so much. We've seen him in the weight room. Rube, what specifically will you be watching with Graham during training camp?
Yeah, like you said, he's 34, coming off a serious injury. It's a tough ask. If anyone can do this, Brandon Graham, I certainly wouldn't count him out, but it's a lot to ask. Yeah. Look, it's a lot to ask for a healthy 34-year-old pass rusher to produce 8 to 12 sacks, which is what the Eagles need from him. I want to see if he's got that explosion, that burst that we're used to seeing from Brandon Graham, that first step, that quick first step to beat an offensive tackle. And if he does, he can, look, they're going to have to count on him because you're looking at Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett and the same old guys. So we certainly don't want him to bring Ryan Kerrigan back, do we?
No.
So they need BG. I have faith in him more than a lot of people coming off that injury.
And this isn't unprecedented. We've seen other guys go through that. Dwight Freeney comes to mind, as well as other guys with the Ravens. So it's not unprecedented for him to bounce back like this.
No, and you know what? We would see BG outside in the NovaCare complex last year, and he was already just so jacked up about the rehab and how far he had come so quickly, and that was in the spring. So now you give him a few more months to really kind of hone in on his rehab and get strong and get fit. And he looks great. He certainly was running around without any issues at OTA. So, I have faith in Brandon Graham, but it's a tough ask.
And they bring in these rotation guys also to kind of prop up the defensive line, so they will count on BG less. Where do you think they missed him the most last season, though?
Well, they had 29 sacks.
Yeah.
That was the fewest in franchise history.
Wow.
Since it became an official stat. And, Josh Sweat made the Pro Bowl, but he wasn't really an impact guy. But I think it's a lot more to it. I think BG is such a personality in that locker room, on the practice field. I think everybody missed his energy, his positivity, just the life he brings every day. You've been around him.
Yeah.
He's one of a kind. So it's great to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely. We will look to see how he bounces back this year. Training camp is upon us.